Hey, welcome back to Father and Fun. Let's play Outlast. This is episode 7. I'm Espresso Steampunk.
And I'm Shecky.
And here we go. It's been about a month, I think, so maybe even longer since we uploaded Outlast. So if you don't remember, we had basically just escaped into kind of a sewer system, and we need to climb down that ladder, so we need to turn these valves. But there's Chris Walker, the big bad guy who's been hounding us. And so we're back to our usual hijinks.
Trying to get away.
Yeah. And this is, it's easy to ditch him because he can't squeeze through these shelves, but basically you have to just be brave and run by him at some point. So
you know you're going to run across him. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't avoid it.
Yeah, he's basically the bad guy at this point. Like, there are other bad guys, but he's the recurring villain.
And I guess we're the recurring good guys, huh?
Yes. We're probably the only good guys in this whole game.
Wow.
But I was actually reading some of the notes and stuff. We're going to have to go back, I think, and do sort of a podcast where we read all the documents and stuff that I miss and, were hard to read. But basically, you learn a lot more about this guy and why he's crazy. And a lot of the, quote-unquote bad guys are, in fact, kind of victims of shit going wrong. And so
We're supposed to feel sympathy for the bad guy.
it's hard to, but it's kind of like whatever evil forces at work are more insidious than the people that have met so far.
Well, I know the insidious people. We can watch them on television and the political debates.
Oh, no.
Those are the real insidious people. Not nearly as bad as this bad guy.
Well,
maybe more bad, actually.
yeah, we have to wonder what kind of oversights there were for things to get this bad. But actually, one of the things that came up in the thread is some people, particularly SS Neoman, are curious about some news stories you've covered, and like maybe what's been one of the more exciting stories you've done, or what's a funny story, etc. And we don't need to hit them all now, but I figure that it's worth asking.
All right, well, nothing pops into my head, but I'll think about it.
Well, one of the first things you did, and I think we touched on this earlier, was the first thing you did when you came to Florida was you were a drug war correspondent.
That is correct. That is correct.
And how'd that work out?
Well, I mean, the laws are changing now, aren't they? It's taken long enough.
Yeah, really.
No, I was the country's first drug war correspondent.
The country's first?
Yep, first that we know of that was specifically not a war correspondent, but a drug war correspondent. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a small miracle I snuck around that guy.
Yeah. And did a lot of stories about illegal drugs and why some of them should be legal. And
oh, wow. So that was actually something people discussed back in the day.
In 1990, they were still talking.
Wow.
Yeah. It began before that even, but I wasn't involved with it.
Sure.
But.
So, I like what I remember was I think they sent you to Amsterdam, right?
Right.
And that was just sort of like to soak in the culture or whatever, see how or if it works.
Yeah, in Amsterdam, they have legalized, or many years ago, legalized what they call soft drugs, marijuana and hashish.
Right, and that legalized as in for like recreational use. It's not just medicinal.
Anybody can buy it and smoke it. But when it comes to hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, anything like that, they're totally against it. And their theory is that you have to separate the hard drugs from the soft drugs.
Uh-huh.
And in this country, like if you want to, let's say, buy drugs, you can go to your drug dealer on the street and buy everything.
Right.
And
you don't always know what you're getting.
And it's always questionable as to what it is, and it also means, you can go to your drug dealer and say, well, give me some pot and give me some coke.
Right.
And in Amsterdam, you can't do that. It's separate. So, and if one of the coffee shops, they call them, that sell marijuana, if they're ever caught selling cocaine or any other drugs, they're put out of business.
Yeah, that's probably like
It's
selling liquor to a minor here
Right,
or something.
there's no question about it. So their policy was a little bit more enlightened before ours got enlightened.
Yeah.
And
And yet, I've heard, and I don't know how true this is, I haven't followed up, I heard at least a few years ago, they started limiting, like, what access tourists had, because
Right.
I don't know if it was, like, people were dying or smuggling stuff or what, but now I hear they're very much like, don't just come to our country to do pot all day.
right, but they did change their laws back.
Oh, okay.
So you can go there, but they didn't want to be known as a country just for that.
I can see that. And yet also, like if you've seen, it's kind of popular in movies and stuff, they sort of have a red light district too, I think?
That's right.
And I don't know if or how the two are related and blah, blah, blah.
Well, they're really not related as such, except for the fact that they're liberal
Yeah.
in that sense. But you walk along certain streets and there are windows at street level where young ladies and maybe some not so young ladies will sit there and display their wares,
Right.
or some of their wares anyway, in an attempt to get you to go inside. But the coffee shops, there are 300 some odd, or perhaps at this point now even more, coffee shops that you can buy a wide variety of soft drugs.
Wow.
And they treat hard drugs as a medical problem.
Aha.
So if you don't commit any other crimes, and it's just the fact that you're caught
If it's like an addiction
an
thing.
addiction, they treat it as a medical problem, not as a criminal justice problem.
I see. Because, yeah, like I've heard stories, and I don't know if it's necessarily like Amsterdam or what, but it's like, they've got, like they make like needles available, like clean needles, or you can exchange them or something as long as
Well, they
you're
have-
like going to clinics or something
Right.
thereof.
They have buses that are equipped that run through downtown, and they stop, and addicts can come in the back door of the bus, drop off their needles and syringes, their used ones, get brand new needles, brand new syringes, and they also then can pick up brochures on how to get clean and this, that, and the other thing, and there's somebody there to advise them if they really want help, that they're there to help them.
Gotcha.
But it's strictly like a mental health thing. It's not like, oh, if you admit to having syringes, you're going to be put in jail.
Right.
No.
Right, because, I assume they do not have privatized prisons.
I cannot say one way or another because I don't know, but I don't think there's an incentive there
Right.
to put
that
people
makes
in jail.
sense. That makes sense. So, I guess back to the game. We have snuck through. We're now trying to find our way to the male and the female wards, and I got a bit lost, but I think I cut it out or something. But yeah, there were some scares.
Okay.
No idea where that guy came from. It sure does look nice and bright and inviting up there, though. But they mentioned this Dr. Vernick again, and like how he's been dead before he began the experiments, and so, shit's getting real. Things are getting creepier, as if, you thought that wasn't possible.
It's also getting a little bit more disgusting.
Yeah. And this is almost to prepare your stomach, because next episode 8 is
Be warned, huh?
oh man, it is. I'm gonna have a special disclaimer for that one.
Okay. Have a barf bag
Oh
nearby.
gosh. Well, hands in front of face kind of situation. But yeah, what screwed me up, and I'll just for the viewers, this door is locked, which is natural, but it took me a long time and a lot of backtracking just to get desperate enough to try to crawl through that stupid hole. Like, you've never had to crawl through something like that before, and so it's just like, did not even occur to me.
Pretty disgusting what we're
Yeah.
crawling through, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like at the end of Shawshank Redemption or something.
Yeah,
except
right.
there is no redemption. Spoiler alert. You crawl through a river of shit and it doesn't get better.
Maybe this is the underground tunnel that El Chapo used to get out of his Mexican prison
Oh,
cell.
gosh.
Huh? What do you think?
It's probably similar. I haven't followed that story, but it sounds about right.
Well, he was the biggest drug kingpin in Mexico. He was in jail, and his followers built like this tunnel for a mile long underneath up to his cell.
Holy crap.
They actually even put a motorcycle in there.
Oh my goodness.
And he escaped, but he's been recaptured. He's
right,
been recaptured
good.
since. But it was just this big thing that how did they build this tunnel and nobody knew?
Yeah.
And in the prison, there had to be noise.
I mean, he's got so much money. He's got so many people on payroll.
Yep. It's kind of like you were talking about Shawshank when he's trying to break the pipe. And he breaks the pipe with the thunder, the sound of the thunder, so that nobody would hear it. Well, they managed to dig under his jail cell, and conveniently nobody heard it.
Right. And that, I mean, that's one of the things about the war on drugs is that basically by making all these drugs illegal, even marijuana, we're lowering the supply and we're increasing the demand.
Right.
And it's like, guess who's supplying to the people these drug lords, and they make so much like unbelievable amounts of money because no one can get it any other way.
But when you look at the states that have legalized marijuana, they're rolling in dough.
Mm-hmm.
Millions and millions and millions of tax dollars are coming in.
And it's not the only thing they're rolling.
But they're actually making a lot of money that they can use for schools and a whole lot of other reasons.
And Denver won the Super Bowl, so clearly it's not.
There's something. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Well, clearly they weren't smoking before
Yeah,
the
no,
Super
no,
Bowl.
no, no.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have won. They would have been lying on the field eating munchies and eating Oreo cookies. Or
I
something.
wonder what the concession stand made.
That's a very good question.
There must be an infographic on this.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm sure they had like some really good munchies to sell.
So I just want to comment real quick on. I thought this was a really awesome set piece, just because it's huge and empty, and there's no clear place to go. So it's like I'm just walking, and it, despite my best efforts, it's getting to me. So then you'll see near the end of this, you start hearing good old Chris Walker's chains as he starts hounding us again, and it was a complete holy shit moment, because I was low on batteries, and I'm kind of disoriented, and I don't know if I'm going the right way, and right now you can hear him.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh crap, I'm not, you could barely catch a glimpse of him there. I was not waiting to see anything. So then we escape again. That's another thing. You start seeing more of these just like broken down mental patients, lots of victims and stuff. And now comes another. This is actually a pretty cool chase. I was trying to evade the guy, but came out of nowhere. So we're just kind of running blindly. Ran into a wall, but evaded him. Can't comment on the whole chase, but
I'm just wondering who built all this.
Yeah, it almost looks like it might be more at home in like Europe or something, where it's like maybe it's built on top of a dungeon, but instead it's this kind of sprawling
to make those
sewer system.
Yeah.
And this is another kind of gross shot. So there's going to be another, obviously, thingy to read. We'll just let them read it. But meanwhile, so have you, like, what sort of exciting news stories have you done? Anything involved? Like, I know one time you just, like, shot a MAC-10 or something to demonstrate.
Yeah.
You were not shooting at anyone. It was a demonstration of firepower.
And it almost knocked me over. It is rather intense. That was years and years ago. I've just done a lot of fun stories, a lot of different stories.
Oh, that's good. So that's actually the end of this episode.
Okay.
So we'll pick up pretty soon. You have that story to look forward to, the fun stories. But for now, I'm Espresso Steampunk.
And I'm Shecky.
Have a good one.